Let's go. I'm better than ever, they never been better than I. Regarded the hardest and I ain't even reaching my prime. They hate that I'm great and they faking I'm real as they come. So sit back and let me show you how this shit is done. My composition, my propositions, I'm raping the system. I'm killing the competition and all of y'all are my victims. Eyes and oohs as I'm ripping the instrumental. Lyrical, individual, never been sentimental. I'm so hot every time that beat drop. And when I say I'm raping the...
What is going on, boxing fans and gamers? It's your boy, Fight Night's Finest, the Sophie commentator, coming back at you with another Fight Night Champion online match. This is actually a match from our Facebook league, Fight Night Tourneys. If you are interested in joining the Facebook league, link can be found in the description. Also, this is kind of a continuation to my last video, the spamming excuse. And if you haven't seen that video, I recommend that you go back and watch it. Link can also be found in the description, or you can just go into my channel, which I hope you're subscribed to, and check back in the video section and you will see it's the one before this one. The reason I'm making this video is actually a little bit crazy, because I think it's not bad enough to, make excuses. Making excuses is one thing, but making excuses and not knowing why you're making the excuses is a whole nother thing. And I think if people understand the different tiers of players and understanding that in anything you do in life and just in this game in general, there's levels to everything that you do. And there's a reason why you are where you are. So I'm going to try to explain the different types of players using the ranking system that in a game that I play in a game I play called League of Legends, and it will kind of better help explain things. And I'm not using this as a way for you to start going out there and calling different players on the game, for example, like a bronze player or a challenger player. I'm telling you this so that you can identify yourself and kind of understand why you are where you are. Because believe it or not, there's elite players in this game who are elite and don't even understand why they're elite. And there's also been a lot of confusion on this game about what makes an elite player and who is actually an elite player. So we'll get into all that in this video. And for a special treat for everybody at the end who's really dedicated to knowing why they stand where they stand or understanding this, I'm gonna teach people how to move up in the rankings, in the quote-unquote rankings, and how they can reach that quote-unquote elite status. Of course, in the future, I'm gonna have a tutorial series that kind of explains all this anyway, but I think it's a good preview for anybody interested in that. So let's start at the base. The base in kind of like League of Legends as it works is you go from level 1 to 30, and then from 30 you can play rank, and you can identify yourself with a certain rank and determine your skill level and the type of players that you get matched with. On Fight Night Champion, it really depends, in my opinion, how you get into the game, because the way you get into the game determines how serious you take it, and also determines kind of where you're gonna end up on in this list. So in the beginning, the way I look at it is you have three different types of players. You have the guy who's got forced into the game, the guy who has always been into boxing games and then just wants to play the game and be good at it, and then you have the guy who wasn't forced into it but kind of stumbled upon the game on accident. So let's start with the guy who stumbled onto the game by accident. They're gonna have one of two effects. Either they're gonna be exactly what they did, an accident. They stumbled into the game, they try it out. I stumbled into playing Fight Night. I'm not really into it, even though I've tried it out. It's not really my thing, and that's the end of the journey, right then and there. Then they kind of move. Then you have the same guy who may stumble upon the game upon accident, but really likes it, and then they're gonna take that time to dedicate themselves to learning how to play the game. But whether or not they move up is basically all on them. And it's the same thing with the guy who's forced into the game. He gave it a try because maybe his friends forced him into it. People have been constantly talking about it, or the game's been recommended to him. Maybe he saw it on the PlayStation Store, and all his friends are getting it, so he decides to get it. Now, either he may play the game just for fun, just when his buddies are playing it, or just go in there and try to fight somebody because he's in the mood to fight or play a fighting game. And those type of players kind of stay at exactly that same level because they're just playing the game for pure fun, you know? And they don't have any idea of trying to be a tryhard, and they kind of fall in that bronze category, which is at the very, very basic level, very base level. Then you also have the guy who got into it because he's always played boxing games, and you know, he just wanted to get into this game. So maybe you played Fight Night Round 4, you was like, man, I really liked Fight Night Round 4, I'm gonna go play Fight Night Champion. You play Fight Night Champion, you're like, this game really isn't for me. It's not as, you know, skill based as maybe Fight Night Round 4, Fight Night Round 3 was. Fight Night Champion really isn't my thing, so you don't really play it, or you know, you play it every once in a while, but you don't play to actually be good at it. Then there's also the guy who may have played Fight Night Round 3 or Round 4 and say, I really, really like Champion, I want to learn how to play this game. And they're just like all the other two categories. It all depends now on how you take the game. So at the very base, we're going to start with the bronze level. The bronze level consists of players who are exactly what kind of you would expect from having a bronze thing, or something that's bronze. It's worthy of something, but at the same time, it's not anything to be proud of. You know, you come into the game, you're learning the basics, you're familiarized with the control schemes, but it doesn't really make you a good player. You know, you're a bronze player because your game knowledge is lacking. It's not really, you know, you don't have much experience in the game. You're really not that good. You're more like entry level, or you just stay at this level thinking you're the greatest player in the world, when in all honesty you're not. You kind of have the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you may think, for example, you're an elite player. You think you're a really, really, really good player and you can play this game at a high level, but all the time you're just bitching and moaning for the most part. You only know the basics of the game and you just don't get that far in it. These are the kind of guys that you see commenting on videos, on talking about, oh, you know, I could beat you down, you know, you're not that good, add me on Xbox Live or add me on PS3, I'll show you a thing or two. Those are those kind of guys, the guys who are just cocky, you know, or either that, or you may not be cocky at all. You just may just be exactly what I said. It's your inexperience. You really don't know much about the game besides the basic controls. Your combination set is basically basic jabs and straights, side step uppercut for a counter, back step straight for a counter. You understand these things get you counters, and also you do like basic hook combinations and things of that sort. So that's what a bronze player is. Then you get to the silver level, and the silver level it's a bit better, and it's where I see, whenever I play like head to head, is where I see kind of most of the community at. Is they're at this level where they understand the basics of the game. They pretty much master all the basic combinations and stuff, the jabs and the straights, the hooks, understanding that they need to throw punches to to score points, and that they got to move around the ring every once in a while, and also try to get their hands up in order to block. But these type of players win about as much as they lose. They're kind of on that category where it's like either you're gonna win as much as you lose a little bit more than you win, or you win a little bit more than you lose. And that's why I kind of see the silver tier level of players are. They have a decent amount of experience at the game. They may still have that same arrogance and cockiness, and to be honest, arrogance and cockiness can go up all the way to the elite level. I don't think you're the guy in there, posting annoying comments talking about challenge me and I'll show you a thing or two about the game, and just overestimating your skill, even though it's quite possible in the quote-unquote silver level. But I say you have a good grasp on just about everything in the game. Like I said, you need to throw punches to win. You understand maybe how to create counters every once in a while, or you get counters or mistakes. Your combination sets, you basically master all the basic combination sets, and like I said, you either win as much as you win. You win as much as you lose as much as you win, or you win as much as you lose. And your experience is still based on just stuff that you learned on your own and just from playing a little bit. Then you have the gold player, and this is where most of the community should be and could be if maybe they weren't quite as arrogant. And the gold level is kind of where now you know you mastered all the basic stuff and you understand how to use these things, but you understand that you need these things. So now you start doing things in order to make these things happen. You start setting up counter punches. This is where I kind of see like that entry level spammer at, is at the gold level, where it's like you throw in counter punches, you understand how to create counter punches, and you start doing these things that it's niche, is that you start becoming your own fighter at this point. Like you start developing a style. Maybe you're an inside fighter, you're an outside fighter, you're a counter puncher, you're an outside fighter. You have all these different styles, and you're really starting to take your fighting style to kind of match those things and base your style upon doing these things. This is kind of where I see a lot of the players in our Facebook group at, where they're good players, they're solid, decent players at this level. This is where a decent player is. And head-to-head in OWC, they win more than they lose, but they still might lose in head-to-head or in OWC. For example, let's say maybe you win 4 games in a row, but you'll lose a game, or you'll lose a game or 2. You may win, then you may lose. Your winning streak isn't really high. You're not gonna come out with like an unbelievable record at the gold player level. Your experience at the game is I would say you can be a veteran and still be at the gold player level, because you never got that training to kind of take you to the next level. Either that or your dedication to the game isn't really as immense as, let's say, an elite or a diamond level player. But at the gold level, even like you just play on the weekends or you play every now and again, but you, like I said, you develop a style, you understand how to create some opportunities for yourself, and that's basically where your experience is at. Then you go to the platinum level, and the platinum level is where I consider good players. Like I said before, the gold level is like decent players. That bronze to that silver level is kind of like in between the bronze and gold player. You can be a decent player, but like I said, you win as much as you lose. But the platinum player wins a lot more than you lose. At this point in the game, you've learned everything that you can possibly learn on your own. I would say you mastered your fighting style at this point. However, you still make mistakes, and it causes you to lose matches. Sometimes people's attitudes may lead to them losing. For example, you start getting anxious. Let's say you drop the first 3 rounds. Now you start charging at your opponent and just doing crazy things that's not going to help you get back in the fight. There's a lack of discipline there, where if your style doesn't work, that's all you have is that one base style. Your gaming, your OWC and head-to-head experience has allowed you to develop and master your style, but sometimes that's all you have is that one style, and you can't really take it any further. Against like a really good player, or I would say would be at the diamond level and then at the challenger level, where you're just an elite player, you can still take rounds off of those guys. You can maybe take a round 2, maybe 3 rounds off of those guys. But at the end of the day, diamond players and challenger players still really dominate you. But you've mastered your base style. You may be a really good in fighter, or a really good outside fighter, but that's pretty much all you can do. You can't do much more than what you've practiced and mastered how to do. So, like I said, in the game knowledge that you have is everything that you could basically learn on the game on your own. So, I would say in terms of this, you may be able to go on like an 11-game win streak, a 10-game win streak. But you'll still lose a fight every now and again. You may have like 4, 5, sometimes I'll say 3 losses in your player hub at times. That's where the platinum level player stands at. Then you have the diamond level player. This is the type of player who can basically, I would say, can do it on. Their main style that they have is really good, and they don't really make too many mistakes. They can go on really long game winning streaks. Like for example, their OWC record could be like 40 wins with like 5 losses or something like that, because that's a really good record. And also you have to go on some really long win streaks before losing in order to try to attain that kind of level. I'll say maybe you're capable of winning, going on long win streaks, 20 wins in a row, 15 wins in a row, 12 wins in a row. These are really long win streaks. Your whole player hub can be filled with nothing but wins. And at the diamond level, you learned the next level of how to play this game from somebody else. I think for most people in this game, you're taught how to play, and you really take things to a whole new spectrum when you're at the diamond level. Somebody taught you how to play. Your knowledge and doing the little things that can give you advantage over somebody who can adjust allows you to dominate really good players with who've mastered their base style. At the diamond level, you know, these are where I can say for example, in our Facebook group, these are the guys capable of winning belts. You know, like you would expect to be in contention for a belt. For example, like Dave the Rip One. He's a really, really good player. He can adjust to in any given situation. He has more than one base style, and his base style is actually really effective as like an inside combination brawler type player. He still has weaknesses and he's beatable, but at the same time, you step in the ring and maybe seeing those weaknesses from, for example, like watching a video. Once you step in that ring with him, it's a lot harder for you to exploit those things that you've seen, because he's able to do different things and vary up his attack. And against any player, they will have trouble with Dave the Rip One. You're not just gonna walk over Dave and it's not gonna be an easy night for you. Never. You're capable of making elite players, you know, give up 4 or 5 rounds, even, you know, 4 rounds, 3 rounds easily, and you know they have to really try if they're gonna be able to defeat you. So that's where I kind of seen the diamond level at. Also, like I said, the little things that other players may not know, the diamond player knows. So you're a veteran of the game. You're very dedicated to the game. You may play it every day or every other day. You know, you practice so much that things are just in your head. It's just knowledge. You can do it without looking. Like sometimes when I'm streaming, I can be playing, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm reading chat, but I'm still fighting at the same time. And I practice things so much that it's in my head like that. So that's what a diamond player is. So I'm going to say from diamond player level, I'm going to skip the category of like kind of master tier and go straight to challenger for how it works in League of Legends. Because the challenger player level has different types of levels to it. And it's the same way on Fight Night Champion. You have your base style is basically really, really hard to beat. You're capable of developing really, really good records. You know, you can go on 100-game win streaks. You know, you have records where you're not losing matches at all. You could be like at 100 wins with maybe like 2 losses, 5 losses. That kind of a record. You're able to adjust in any given situation. So for example, let's say me, for example, I like to box. That's my base style. Get behind my jab and move around the ring every once in a while and then throw some combinations to seal the deal off. But if I have to rely heavily on counter punching to win a fight, I can switch to that style. I can go into the inside and apply extreme amount of pressure if I have to. Cut the ring off and throw tons of combinations. If I need to box on the outside because the person I'm up against, his outside fighting is just so good that if you try to come forward or you try to counter punch, is not going to work. The only thing you can do is just go to the outside. I can easily adapt to that style and start doing it. When I first started playing this game, I was extremely dedicated to it. I used to play it all the time. I practiced a ton. I had a teacher who was an elite player who took me to the next level and turned me from, I would say, a platinum level player into a challenger level player. Also for the challenger level players, they're innovators. They do things that other players try to copy and try to imitate. And you know, they have something that they're known for. For example, me, I'm known for killer combinations and a good stiff solid left jab and being able to adapt in any given situation. Those are the things that I'm known for. And I think even more you have to look at for a challenger player, their game knowledge is exquisite. Like there's not a thing about this game that they really don't know or don't know of, and they can always apply these things in any given situation. But there's still levels to the challenger player level. I may be at the very lowest level where a guy like, for example, who can I say that? I think, like, for example, I think Halion Lord is a better player than me. So he can do things that I can't do, and he can give me a lot of trouble. But at the same time, I can maybe win 4 rounds out of a 10-round fight, or I can win 5 rounds out of a 10-round fight. But the difference may be him getting a knockdown that allows him to win the match. A guy like also like AC Carnage, people who are just really, really good at the game. Those type of players are where I can see the challenger level just varying and determine how good you are. It's no different than like if you're playing basketball. You can have a guy who's really, really good at the game, a really good shooter, like a good player. For example, some people consider Carmelo Anthony to be a really good player, but he's not going to be better than Kobe. Kobe is one of the best players to ever play. So that's where that challenger level and like being like a Hall of Famer type of player come into play. Now, the way to move up through the rankings is simple. It's all about dedication and practice. If you're sitting there playing online matches all the time, you're not going to always win. You got to find somebody who can teach you the things that you need to know. Find different sources and study different things, even if it's on your own. Just getting the knowledge that you don't know about certain little things can take your game to a whole nother level. Mastering when to throw punches and when not to throw punches, when to look for when to be defensive and when to be offensive, when to be moving and when not to be moving. It's all the little things that really takes the challenger player and the mindset of how they play the game and the knowledge that they have that makes the difference between a challenger player and a bronze player. The different level of dedication that they have and how often they play really determines those things. So that is my video on the different levels of players in Fight Night Champion. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you please like the video. If you have any questions, comments, or concern, leave them in the comments section and share the video with your friends. Anyways, it's been your boy, Fight Night's Finest, the Sophie Commentator, and I'm out this. Peace!
Open up! You sure he still live here?
Fool, I told you this is.
Open up!
Who the fuck is it? CJ, the fuck you want? Get the fuck out of here.